I was out on a hike when I discovered a dog in the forest. She was in bad shape. She didn't have a collar, but it looked like she had one in the past. The fur and skin around her neck was terribly calloused and infected. She was skittish and didn't want to come near me. When I gave her a chunk of jerky, I'd been carrying, she changed her mind. She loved the stuff, so I used that to lure her out of the woods. She got out from under the tree, and I could see her in the sunlight. It was obvious she was neglected. Long time. Every rib was visible under her mangy coat, and she had a couple of sores near the remains of her tail. Her left ear was missing, too. Looked like the poor girl had a very difficult life. I got the feeling that if I hadn't come around, she wouldn't have lasted much longer. When we got home, I lit a fire, put out a bowl of water and some leftover meatloaf. Poked around the house to see what I could put on her wounds. When I got back to the living room, all the food and water was gone, and the dog was sleeping next to the fire. Steam was rising off her damp fur. Right then, I decided to call her Smokey. As the days went by, Smokey got better. I looked online, learned how to give her some of my leftover antibiotics to clear up her infections. I bandaged her paws, her tail, and her ear, and they healed. Her weight went back to what I assume was normal for her frame. After a month, she didn't look like a husk of a dog anymore. She was starting to look healthy. Happy, too. She loved to wag that stump of a tail. Couldn't figure out what kind of dog she was, though. Just a mutt, I figured. A mutt, but a great one. When I had Smokey for almost a year, I got a job offer that required me to relocate. I've been working from home for at least 5 years. I wasn't very happy with it. Sure, the freedom was fun, but I was starting to get bored. Rural life, turned out, wasn't for me. So I accepted the job and moved to the suburbs of New York City. The house I bought wasn't too big, but it had a great yard for Smokey to make her own. It's fenced in, a nice tree for her to sleep under, and got her a great dog house just in case it started to rain while she was outdoors. Worked out great. And somehow, Smokey broke through the fence and ran away. I panicked. Called veterinarians and animal shelters and police departments to see if anyone had found her. No luck. I drove through the neighborhoods and I put up signs and offered $250 rewards. Still nothing. Couldn't believe how much I missed her. She'd filled a void in my life I never knew I had, and now she was gone. I was devastated, terrified. I knew I'd get a phone call from animal control telling me they found her dead on the side of a highway somewhere. 2 months went by and I assumed I'd never see my dog again. One night, though, I heard a familiar barking. I ran downstairs, I flung open the front door, and it was Smokey. I was bewildered and overjoyed. Not only did she look like she was in good health, but she was plump with what I assumed was a late-term pregnancy. I let her in the house, and only then did I discover something was amiss. She was skittish. She didn't want to be touched. I tried to pet her, but she snapped at my hand. I pulled away. She walked toward the back door, indicating she wanted to go out. During the time that she was gone, I improved the fencing situation. In the event that she ever came back, I let her outside. I watched as she made a beeline for the doghouse. She disappeared inside and didn't emerge for the remainder of the night. Assuming her aggression was because of her pregnancy, I didn't concern myself with it as much as I perhaps should have. I was happy to have her home. A week later, Smokey had her puppies. She began guarding the doghouse with a level of ferocity I'd never seen her. I couldn't imagine getting within 5 feet before she barked and growled and lunged at me. I could hear her litter pitifully yipping and wailing, just like all newborn dogs. I decided to leave them be, assuming Smokey would come around after a while. I continued to leave food out for her. Let her go about her business. Weeks passed. I hardly saw Smokey aside from the few times she left the doghouse to eat and drink. And clean up the yard every so often, just so there wasn't shit everywhere. She never came out to greet me. Stay in the doghouse glaring. I could tell the puppies were getting bigger by the sounds they were making. They bumped against the inside of the doghouse, but not once did she allow them to venture outside, though. As time went by and I grew worried about Smokey's aggression toward me, I considered asking a vet to visit the house to tell me if her behavior was abnormal or simply an instinctual behavior to protect her young. Then Smokey stopped coming to the porch for food and water. Now, she was still out there, guarding the doghouse, snapping and barking whenever I approached, but no longer eating. I assumed the puppies were doing okay, but I still hadn't been able to see them. On the third day of Smokey's refusing to eat or drink, I called the vet to make a house call. She arrived late that afternoon. We went outside and approached the doghouse. The moment we stepped off the porch, Smokey began to growl. For the first time, the puppies growled too. "See what I mean?" asked the vet. She didn't reply, but a look of concern crossed her face. We approached the doghouse and stopped about 10 feet away. Smokey kept growling. "Do you know who the father of the puppies are by any chance?" I shook my head. "No. She disappeared for a while, came back pregnant." She stepped forward and Smokey's growl got deeper. So in turn did the growls of her still hidden litter. "And she still hasn't exhibited aggression towards you in the past?" "No, none at all. She's been sweet and kind for as long as I've known her." Smokey barked at the vet, closing the distance. "I don't think it'd be a good idea to get any closer. It's obvious she doesn't want..." Before she could finish the sentence, Smokey lunged. The vet, expecting the attack, pivoted to the side. Smokey dropped to the ground where the vet had been standing a second earlier, and I screamed. Stretched before Smokey and the doghouse were loops of intestines which bulged from holes in the dog's side and belly. The flesh of her rear half was bloody and ragged, almost looking as if it had been chewed. She barked and howled at the both of us, struggling to leap again. But she had no strength remaining. She watched, violence in her eyes waning as we approached. The vet dropped to her knees to inspect the wounds while I tentatively placed my hand on her head. She growled at first, then whimpered. I scratched her ears and she licked my arm. I knew she was about to die. The sound from the doghouse made me jump, more growling. The puppies. We saw shapes moving inside the dark wooden structure. The shape didn't move like dogs. All at once, something tumbled out. The vet gasped. Writhing on the lawn were a dozen creatures. Faces semi-canine, but the rest of them was something entirely different, entirely wrong. 8 twitching legs, hairless, veiny, gray skin, red eyes, and they were long, serpentine. "My God," Vet breathed. I said nothing. One of the puppies, the largest of the 6, clamped its tiny, sharp teeth on a yellow cord of viscera. Smokey didn't move. She was gone. One of the young looked at us from time, and it yelped. They all craned their heads up in our direction. Upon seeing us, they started backing away towards the doghouse. The vet moved closer, bending down to pick one of them up. As if fired from a cannon, the puppy fled across the lawn at blinding speed before either of us could react. They clambered across the yard, scaled the fence, and disappeared to the other side. They were never seen again. I allowed the vet's office to perform a necropsy on Smokey. Her determined cause of death was consistent with the injuries she received. There was no explaining the deformities of her litter. And I miss Smokey every day. She was my friend and my companion. I try not to think about the last portion of her life with me. The part where she obviously scared and in pain. Still on clear nights I hear strange howling and bizarre cackling barks. I know what they are, but I don't know what to imagine how they look now that they've grown up. The vet notified animal control. They patrolled the area for a while before giving up, and I know they're out there, though. It's hard for anyone in the neighborhood to keep an outdoor cat for very long. Disappear. Raccoons don't knock over garbage cans anymore, either. A few streets down, Ron Perriman and his wife, Alyssa. They lost their toddler daughter. She was playing in the backyard. Alyssa went in to grab her cell phone, and in that 20-second span, she was gone. The police are still looking for her. I don't try to speculate about what happened. I try to get on with my life, home to work, work to home. It's tough to enjoy the time in between, though. The stillness. The silence. Aside from Smokey being gone, it just feels like things are missing. And I can't even tell you the last time I heard a bird singing outside.